Today's episode of the Good Dude, Good Dad podcast is brought to you by BioPro, Hidden House Coffee, and Nexgen Peptides. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Good Dude, Good Dad podcast. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Ben.
And today we have a special guest, Bodie. What's up, dude? How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you probably know Bodie. He is a musician. He was on The Voice. He is a worship pastor at Oceans and for Vanguard. But, dude, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Excited to be here.
We do literally every episode like this, but kind of just tell us about you and who you are and how we got to sitting here.
Yeah, I mean, in short, grew up in California to actor parents, musician parents, kind of found my way to the stage really young, pursued that most of my life, found Jesus at a very early age in my life, and made a lot of bad decisions and mistakes that got me to where I am now, which is very excited to say, like, now I just get to do music for a living. I'm married with 3 kids, been married for 10 years. I'm also the worship pastor at Vanguard University, which is the school I went to, met my wife there. And and then I lead worship at Oceans when I'm in town too, as my home church here in Irvine, California. And yeah, that's me. Stoked to get to travel the country, making music, and it's awesome. Life's good.
You say your parents were like actor musicians?
Yeah.
What did they do? Yeah.
Just I grew up. This is the best. I just talked to. I was on the phone with my mom yesterday. She was like, "Do you remember 89-cent burrito night?" And I was like, "I do."
Yes.
My parents were the type of actors. I lived in North Hollywood and then moved to the Valley, where they'd wait tables during the day, take me to their auditions. I'd wait in the lobby and did you get it? I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Like that type of actor. Just the grind mentality. My dad was a touring bass player, so from a very early age, I saw like the grind to pursue your dreams kind of mentality and eat broccoli and 89-cent burritos every Tuesday. Taco Bell.
Those are the best memories though.
Totally.
Like, cause you remember it, like an 89-cent burrito. And there's things that we're trying to do with our kids right now that hopefully they'll be able to be like, it's something so small, but maybe they'll, remember it.
Oh, totally.
Oh, dude, I just remember, cause who was I talking? I think it was Caitlin. We were with my wife. We were like talking about Taco Bell, and I was like, dude, I remember just like balling out with my parents at Taco Bell. Like, we had all this stuff, and I was like looking back at it. I know we had to do that because like financially we couldn't afford to do really anything else. Right. But like to me, that was like the coolest ever. Yeah. I was like, dude, this is awesome. I got like 2 Taco Bell toys. I was like, life is the best.
It's so good.
But it's so cool, like from a kid's lens, that you remember stuff like that.
Totally. I took my kid to Taco Bell today.
Yeah.
I hope he remembers. This is the Taco Bell episode.
Taco Bell sponsor.
That's
good, right?
What a dream.
So like, I know you grew up like being around music all the time, but like, how did you go get into music? Like, what was kind of like? Do you remember like your first times like getting on stage, starting to play? Like, how'd that play out?
My early on into kind of as my parents transitioned out of acting. My mom actually was a theater teacher for a while. That's kind of when I first found the stage. I was like the kid in the production. It was like out of high school, so like I was like the little kid in the show or whatever. And then my mom actually transitioned into being like a children's pastor at a church. And so with that, as pastors' kids, you kind of get roped in to help wherever you can. And so at a very early age, I was exposed to like music in the church. And kind of parallel to that, I went to a private school because my mom had taught there, and so I was doing like all the music stuff there. So I started on clarinet and sax, and then my parents actually met and were married and lived in Hawaii before I was born. So like whenever we'd go back, I like picked up ukulele. So it was ukulele and clarinet were like the first 2 instruments that I learned. And then I'd say maybe at like 7 or 8 years old, I kind of started realizing that music's something that came a little bit naturally. And so then from there, guitar, drums, piano, I kind of just started picking up all these things. Right. My dad at the time worked for Apple. So like he hooked me up with like this old Apple laptop with, I think, GarageBand when it first came out. And then I got Logic, which is the, step up from that when it first came out, probably 15 plus years ago, 18, 20 years ago. And so I just started like producing music in my little bedroom at probably age 11. Dang. And, crappy music, but like I just started, I was like, well, I can record how I sound and I can make it better and blah, blah. So very early age, started leading worship at around 11 or 12 years old, and for my mom's children's ministry for little kids, and never stopped recording, singing.
Dude, that's wild. I did not know that. Jordan and I say it all the time, which you wouldn't obviously know this until right now, but always say it's so cool to sit in a setting like this when you're actually having someone talk about themselves, because you get to learn so much about someone that you wouldn't really have the option. I mean, I don't know when else we'd talk about like our childhoods.
No.
But it's a fun thing because you get to see like the things that made the person sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
Dude, do you think as a musician, because I am not musically inclined whatsoever. Okay. I can turn the volume on. I can hit like next song, you know, like back. That's my extent.
Okay, DJ.
Dude, seriously, that's all I could do. Do you think people are just naturally gifted when it comes to music, or do you think it's something that can also be learned in a way like to get you to like that next step?
Dude, I actually read a quote. Well, it's a long quote and I'm not going to recite it, but I read something yesterday talking about like the neural pathways between the left and the right brain, and that the most like savant level people, they have the cleanest pathway, the clearest pathway between the left and the right side, and they actually look like dual engines operating in sync with each other. But the kind of the summary of it was that you aren't born with that it's actually through the process of telling yourself that you can and continuing. And the biggest difference between someone who's intermediate to someone who's, you know, a professional or excellent at their craft is they get frustrated early on with their lack of ability to talk fast, and they get frustrated with the maybe not excelling as fast as they want, and they get stuck in that, you know, arena instead of just creating to express and creating out of emotional, you know, expression. But if you can break through that and just continuing, just building and stacking, it'll actually, it's learned and it's trained to get your brain to work that way. With that said, yes, I do believe that there is a little bit of cheat codes. Like if you're born to a family that's already musical, it's, I mean, we sing with our kids all the time, whether or not they're going to be amazing or not, we'll see if they actually apply themselves. But like, I think it's a little bit of both, but from a neural level, apparently, according to this one thing I read, it's not necessarily fully inherited to be some savant level. It's just more of believing in yourself and applying it to yourself. And
I'm actually glad you just read that, because Devin and I, horrible at singing and anything, and I'm like, dang, I hope our kids are not like us.
I was just saying, I was like, I think some of it has to be, you know, you're born, like, because I could play music, but I can't sing for the life of me. And I've always wanted to, and I always joke like it sounds like a coyote in a trash compactor. You know, I like sing back to God and like hope that nobody else hears me when we're at church, you know? But dude, that's so rad. It's funny going back. I got GarageBand and Logic right around the same time when they came out. And I started this podcast with back in the day, kind of like you, I had like a group of friends and we used to make music. And I have old like drum condenser mics, and that's how this podcast started, with one of those old drum condenser mics from when I was like 11 years old doing GarageBand in my buddy's basement. And that's like that's how this whole podcast was born.
That's rad.
Were those. So, dude, I love that. That's so rad.
Yeah, man.
Pretty envious of people that could play music.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's bad, dude. I'm telling you, it's bad. I'm trying to tell my brain to do the opposite, but it's saying no.
I can't imagine that it's not also inherited.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I remember, this is such a weird memory I haven't thought about probably in 15 years, but a buddy of mine in high school era, he could never clap like with like if we were all like clap, he couldn't clap at the same time as like we'd be like, all right, ready? Clap. He couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so I think of his name's Evan. I think of Evan. I'm like, dang, that kid, there's no shot he could ever drum. But maybe if he sat with a metronome and like had someone like encouraging him out of his discouragement or whatever mental block is telling him he can't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never experimented with someone that's so bad at rhythm. But I would hope
you can experiment with me.
Dude,
I can't do. I'm bad.
We could circle back in a year, see if we've helped you out there.
You remember Tyler Maroff?
Yeah.
He taught spin, and I don't know how I ended up there, but I was in one of his spin classes one time, and there was someone, and he was a musician also, and there was someone pedaling in the front row, but he was so off tempo that he was like, get off your bike and go stand in the back of the room and pedal back there, because I can't pay attention with you that off rhythm.
That's hilarious.
It like literally like drove him insane.
That's interesting. That would be a good way to learn rhythm, is to just
go
in a cycle.
Listen to a cycle class.
Man.
Yeah, dude. I'm always amazed by drummers specifically.
Oh yeah.
Because I can't, there's no way. My hands plus my feet at the same time at different paces and tempos while still having to use my brain to like listen and pay attention. There's no way.
Drumming is one of the coolest.
Yeah, he drums. I'm assuming you probably drum
a little bit.
Yeah, dude. Good for you guys.
Okay, so from there, like you got out of high school, did you go pursue music right away, like right out of high school?
Yeah.
All right, like what did that look like?
So I got expelled from high school my senior year,
Sick.
as one does.
Nice.
Yeah, and so I ended up being able to graduate early. I got to graduate early. Full ride to a charter school. Yeah, so at that point, that was kind of my big pivotal faith moment for me.
Yeah.
Grew up in the church, but that was the moment where I was like, all right, I got to turn my life around. I can't be living. I was leading worship while living in sin. Like it was this whole thing.
Yeah.
Got in trouble, got caught, came out. Everyone knew. I was like, all right, I have two choices. One, I can just continue being this loser and own that as my identity, or I can be all in with Christ, but I can't do one. I can't do both. Mm-hmm. And so in that moment, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to pursue music. And at the time, I really wanted to be a mixed martial arts. Like that was like, I was obsessed with that mixed martial arts. So I was like, that's what I want to do. I was, I'd train in the backyard with my dad, striking stuff. And then I was like, I can't, I'm a singer. What am I doing, dude? What am I trying to prove? I'm too big. I don't want to fight 240-pound dudes. And so, so I ended up applying to a couple colleges. At the time, I was still an athlete. So I was actually going to go play football. But with being expelled, that would also kind of impact your ability to go D1. So I was going to go play football actually for Azusa Pacific, which Christian school, not too far from here. But then I walked Vanguard's campus and I just did it was undeniable. Like this is where I was supposed to go. Yeah. And so went there for worship. It was a music degree, but it was worship arts essentially. So it was kind of a music theology music degree.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question, straight out of high school, I was doing music at that point too, and went straight into college and was like, I want to pursue, church music and whatever else that entails. And that's kind of when I started making my own music more seriously. And I was rapping at the time. You can still find, there's remnants of it online. I've tried to delete most of it, but I've left a few just because it's really funny. But
I will not lie. I definitely still have some old rap. Somewhere on
please
YouTube.
find it.
Why do we all?
I don't know. I don't know.
Where did you grow up?
Here.
It's something to do with like Orange County, like California white boys. Like we just all want to rap.
We all just
get it.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Please find it.
No.
Please.
I have a lot of embarrassing videos that like somehow my sister finds on YouTube. On occasion, she's like 6 years younger, and she'll just like send them to me. She's like, "Hey, remember when you used to straighten your hair and thought you were emo?" I was like, "Let's not. Let's not." Going back though, like Ben and I have talked about it. We both had similar journeys where like we were doing things not like we were not living as Christians, but at the same time we were going to like church, like being a part of church. Like we both talk about like, dude, there was times where we showed up on like Sunday morning, like still drunk.
You have to be still
from
drunk, like
poor decisions
Saturday night.
the day before, and yet we both talked about it like. I'm so glad that there was something that was instilled in me that kept me at church that entire time.
Yeah.
Like even though like I was not living the life.
Yeah.
But that kept me there long enough that like God caught me back again.
Yeah,
And it was
totally.
like, and then I just, like woke up one day. I was like, dude, I suck as a person. Like, I need to change. Yeah. Like how important do you think it was that you still went to church and was like still actively in the church even when you were like
messing up?
Yeah, that point of your life.
At that point of my life, I think everything was fine. Yeah. But looking back, it wasn't necessarily. Well, I'll say first, being in that environment, whether you're tolerating sin in your life or not, like that is like so crucial because of what I'm about to say. When I got caught, one might assume there would be a lot of judgment and shame from the church and those people that I did life with that had no idea I was living with. I was selling drugs to clarify. Yeah. And when I got caught, my youth pastor was at my house and hugged me. Like that was my, and then my first day back that my parents finally let me go to cause I had, there's some legal stuff. I couldn't be out for a certain amount of time and all that stuff. When I was finally allowed to go back to youth group, it was like a month or two later, everyone waited at the curb for me and I got out and they all hugged me. And so that was a very pivotal moment for me where I was like, and then there's other stuff that I experienced on my own with the Lord that was just pretty crazy that shaped my life, which we can get into maybe. But that was a good example of like, dang, I'm so glad that like I stayed rooted because this was such a example of like what rich, healthy, Christ-like community can do for me.
Yeah.
Because the party people could care less that I got caught. In fact, they were mad because I ratted some of them out, Yeah. But the church people were like, man, we just want what's best for you. And we're so happy that you're okay. And So yeah, man, I'm so glad that I stayed involved in the church. But again, at the time, I was fine living two lives,
Yeah.
which was crazy that I was blind to that. But even through the midst of my sin and the crap coming to light, like, and seeing how much love and encouragement came from those people, really kept me there.
I think I'm super glad this came up because, and adding value to listeners is there's a lot of people that are currently walking that life, right? Where you have your church in front of your family, in front of your friend's life, but then, behind closed doors or the second part of your life, you think it's okay because you're not crossing certain boundaries or you're not doing X, Y, and Z. I'm only selling weed. I'm not selling fentanyl.
Right.
And we make these justifications.
Right.
But I think the biggest part of what you're saying, Bodie, and Jordan, to your point, and my point as my story as well, is like, if you find a Christian community that is truly rooted in God's word, like God's real word, not partially God's word and partially the pastor's word, God's word.
Yeah.
Church and Christians and our faith is designed to be able to have those moments and those instances where people should embrace you. But the church has such a bad rap because of humans messing up, right? Or being so judgmental or so quick to be like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to hell.
Right.
Like, I think the value in what you just said is like, it was pivotal for you because we know so many people that have been on this podcast or people that have asked us because of a listener, like asking a question about you or whatever.
Yeah.
And them having the opposite experience where the church is too hypocritical or it's too judgmental or they went through something super gnarly and no one was there for them.
Right.
And I'm very passionate about that because we just said it with Jalen, like you can't judge all of us because of a couple bad seeds, right? If there's millions and millions and millions of Christians and followers of Jesus around the world, there's going to be some bad ones. But you can't just like put all of us in that box and be like, nope, you're a hypocrite. You suck. Like, you're going to judge me. Like, bro, I was an awful human being.
Right.
Like, am I thankful for it? I am.
Right.
Because now I get to take those principles that I learned. I get to hopefully teach my boys not to do the stuff I was doing to girls, right? And I get to teach my daughter her value and who she is because of Jesus.
Right.
And I just think there's so much value in understanding, like, if you find a healthy Christian community, that's the difference. I just rambled. But
my pastor makes this joke often. He says, if I get food poisoning from tacos, I'm not swearing off tacos the rest of my life. Just because one taco is bad. Like,
that's actually fantastic.
There's still a lot of tacos out there.
I like that though, because it breaks it down.
Southern California, definitely. But I'm like, dude, preach.
Inspired and hungry at the same time now.
Yeah, I heard this pastor the other day, and it leans directly into this, where he said, I'm more fearful for the person that comes to church thinking I'm not that bad versus the person that comes to church thinking I'm too far gone.
Yeah.
And he was like, the too far gone person is like, dude, perfect. You're exactly where you should be.
Yeah.
Because we can work with that. It's like that person that goes, that's what I was that, I'm not that bad. Because I have my buddy over there that's doing what I'm doing plus this. I'm still good.
Yeah.
I'm still going to church. I'm not a bad person.
Right.
And it's like, that's such a dangerous position to be in, but I'm so grateful that I stayed like consistent in church even through all that.
Yeah.
Dude, I was helping lead a young adults ministry at a startup church with a buddy of mine when I'm still hooking up with these girls and going out and partying, getting in fights all the time. When I came home from the Marine Corps, I was a very different human being.
Sure.
But the justification of like, oh no, I'm better because, Jordan and Bodie are over there and they're doing crazy things. I'm living my life because I almost died. Like that was the justification. And then I just like sit back and I look at it and I was okay with it in the moment, like you said, because when you're going through it, you're like, oh no, I'm good with like, I'm still good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing all these things, but I still believe in God.
Right.
And, obviously looking back at it now, it's like, there's so many of those moments in my life where God was attempting to use a situation to like maybe kind of draw me back in, and it would for a second. And then you get off that spiritual high and then you get back. And then, I just hit this moment of rock bottom where I was like disgusted with myself.
Right.
And I just made that switch. And, obviously it took some work, but then I met Devin. And it's just funny if you allow God to genuinely speak into your life and are able to respond and listen to it, what he can do.
Totally.
But you said there's a couple things spiritually that happened to you that we might get into. What are some of those things?
Yeah, in the midst of getting in trouble and all that, I the first night I was home, and this is, we're old fogies now, so this was back. I was like 17, and I remember laying in my bed just ashamed, so embarrassed. And prior to this, a lot of cool, crazy things happened. I guess I'll rewind. First, the night before I got arrested, the night before, I just had so much conviction, and I was like, God, I'm not gonna stop. I'm in too deep. You need to stop me or I'm going to keep going. Yeah. And the next morning before school even started, cop was in the classroom. Hey, come with us. And I admitted to everything. I had it all on me. It was like ready to sell. Like, I got hit with like 7 felonies. Like, so this was before it was legal in California too, to sell weed or to smoke weed. So there's just so many things attached to this, what I was doing, like intent to sell the minor, intent to sell on a school campus, possession on a school campus, intent to sell to minors on a school campus. It was like all the same thing, but different words. Anyways, so that was the first kind of like, that's crazy. Because I wasn't too secretive about it, but the fact that I prayed this and then within 8 hours, 9 hours. Then the second thing, I'm caught. My parents are heartbroken. They're mad. They're just devastated. My pastor's sad and shocked. All my real friends are shocked. I'm in bed that night, really sad and just full, the latter example of someone at church. It's just like, man, I'm so far gone. Yeah. That was my posture, my heart. But I was grateful. I was like, it's done. Like, I'm done. And I remember I was woken up 3 times in my sleep I felt the presence of someone else in my bed with me, like comforting me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even identify probably 10 years the significance of 3 too. The fact that I was woken 3 times in my sleep it didn't startle me. I was just like, I woke up, I felt something in the room with me, and I fell back asleep. And it happened 3 times. And when I woke up, that was when I was like, all right, everything's going to change. Like, I felt like the tangible presence of the Holy Spirit ready to walk this thing out with me. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of the most pivotal moment in my young faith walk was that.
I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
What'd you do after?
That's when I went to Vanguard. That was when I punched some bags with my dad in the backyard and graduated a charter school with like 16 pregnant girls. And then,
was it the San Juan one?
No, this was, so I lived in San Luis Obispo at the time. So I got expelled from Slow High and I graduated some charter school. I don't even remember what it was called. Yeah. Yeah. They were great, but it was a weird season of my life. Yeah.
Through that process of your life and your parents being heartbroken and disappointed, is there anything you can pinpoint back to that your parents did, whether good or bad, that's kind of helped shape you as a father?
Yeah, I mean, they were always very I mean, maybe not specific to this incident, but just growing up, they were super affirming of my expression and my creativity. They always were quick to pray with me and for me and expose me to church environments that were really healthy but very dynamic. And so growing up, I always felt, on one hand, very comfortable in my faith. And number 2, I felt very affirmed and believed in by my parents. And so that was a big thing that shaped me as an artist, now as a pastor, and just someone that is very confident to talk about my faith, but also very confident to express myself through art, through music, through content creation, through all these things, because of all of their just belief in me.
Yeah. We talk about it all the time. Obviously, good dude, good dad. But the things that our parents can have control of, right? Like a lot of the guys that we have on, Jordan, I thought the childhood that we're all referring to right now, because it sounds like you're very similar in fantastic parents, Christian home, still willing to obviously like discipline, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like we thought it was normal. And I know that sounds so naive to think, but the more we've been doing this and the more conversations and the more guests we've talked to, it's like actually like we're the uncommon, right? To have the childhood, the home life that we had, the loving yet still like firm parents in the lessons that they've taught us, and even taught us things that maybe you don't want to do as a parent. It's crazy that we're the uncommon.
Yeah.
And our hope and our goal and our dream is like when people listen to stories like this, that, they can remember that, hey, even though I had a really bad dad, or I didn't have a dad, or I didn't have a mom, I have the power and the ability now to break that and to change that. So my kids, can never know what that's like.
Yeah.
Like Devin didn't have a good dad in her life.
Yeah.
And I never understood, you've heard me say it, but I didn't understand the power of a father-daughter component. I didn't, how would I know that? Like, yeah, I have a sister, but like, I didn't know. And Devin made a comment to me like maybe a year or two ago, something along the lines of, she didn't realize how much hurt she had from her dad because she had forgiven him. She let him go. Like, I think in the 13 years we've been together, I've seen him maybe like 4 or 5 times, like tops, drugs in and out.
Yeah.
The story of like the daughter waiting, is my dad coming around?
Yeah.
No, he's not. But she didn't realize the level of I guess hurt and trauma that she carried through it until we had our daughter and until she saw how I was with our daughter.
Wow.
And to me, I was just doing what we thought was common, right? Like, she's my little girl. Of course I'm going to love her.
Right.
Of course I'm going to pour into her. Of course I'm going to try to be like the best that I can be for my family.
Yeah.
And she said to me, she's like, I didn't know the level of healing I needed until I watched the relationship that I get to see with you and our daughter.
Wow.
And how healing that was to her, even though like obviously I'm her husband.
Yeah.
And it just really like put that fire in me to, obviously I'm gonna mess up, right? I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna sin, I'm gonna fall. There's gonna be times where maybe I'm not the best dad and best husband, but I'm gonna freaking make sure every single day that I'm gonna try.
Yeah, that's rad.
And the power of being a parent, like that's all that to say is just like the power of being a parent and how we want that to be able to inspire other dads.
So good.
What's up, guys? Jordan here from the Good Dude, Good Dad podcast. Huge shout out to our sponsor, BioPro. Ben and I have been on it for a while now, but I got to tell you this. Nothing is more important to a dad than sleep. We usually don't get a lot of it, and it's usually not great quality. But ever since I started taking BioPro plus cortisol, my sleep has been phenomenal. So go check them out in our show notes down below. There are a few things in life that I enjoy more, and I argue any man enjoys more than a good cup of coffee in the morning. That's why I use veteran-owned and operated Hidden House Coffee. Hidden House Coffee roasts here in Santa Ana, California. They have locations in Santa Ana, San Juan, or San Clemente. But you can go to hiddenhousecoffee.com and use GDGD on your checkout to receive a discount. I highly recommend going with their coffee subscription. But yes, if you want a great cup of coffee, not a good cup of coffee, a great cup of coffee, go to hiddenhousecoffee.com. Thank you to our sponsors, Nexgen. Nexgen Industries is committed to advancing longevity, wellness, and strength through precision-driven innovation. Select products are USA finished and manufactured, meaning they are held to a pharmacy-grade, FDA compounding pharmacy standard. Each product is sterile, isotonic, and pH balanced, rigorously tested for purity and quality, and provided a certificate of analysis. That's because at Nexgen Industries, transparency, performance, and long-term health come first.
I have to selfishly talk to you about The Voice.
Okay.
Bro, I've been a voice. Devin used to make fun of me. I was like a voice fan since it started. Yeah, whatever, bro.
That's crazy.
No one would ever guess because I'm not musical, right? But I love music. And
That's so funny.
Also, I love Blake Shelton. My dad's from South Dakota. He's a country boy, and I grew up listening to country music. You know,
Sick.
like that's my. I remember being a little kid in my dad's, Ram, and we were listening to cassette tapes of like Johnny Cash and Loretta Lynn and like old country.
Yeah.
And so I was always a Blake Shelton fan, but I started watching The Voice season 1. And
That's crazy.
I watched it all the way through till Blake Shelton stopped coaching.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I even went to like recordings and
No way.
No
I didn't know
way.
that far.
bro. I loved that show.
Wow.
And I just thought it was so cool to see like these people being judged. And this is like no pun intended to just like what we're talking about as being like a good person and values and stuff. But like this concept to me of someone being judged not on how they looked, but solely on how they sounded. I don't know what it was about it, but it suckered me in.
Yeah.
And Devin used to always tease me because throughout us being together, we've always watched The Voice. And so seeing you on there was cool, and then you getting picked by Blake, I was like, all right, dude, this is cool.
Yeah.
But what was that like for you, man? Like that's a pretty cool change, right?
Yeah.
Or just a radical event that happened.
Yeah, it was sick. Long story short, I wasn't a super fan quite like you, but I did watch it with my wife a lot during our early years of being married. And it was like in 2016 to 2017, I just kind of felt this on my heart, like I'm supposed to be on this show. And at the time I was working full-time at a church, leading worship, actually in Arizona. So like completely, it was kind of where we graduated college, moved to Arizona, started working at this church. Life was cool, IKEA coffee table with
Yeah.
like a broken TV on. Like, poor, young married life, and it was awesome. It was such a great start to our marriage, and part of it was we watched The Voice a lot. And I remember seeing the show, and for the 100th time, but for something in my heart like had shifted, and I was like, dang, I was supposed to be on the show. Then it wasn't out of pride or like I could do this. It was like a genuine like I feel like I'm supposed to be on that show. And so I actually ended up auditioning. This is back then. And I made it past the first round, second round, and I was this close to making it to the televised audition because it's a long process just to get onto the show.
That's crazy.
And I was like, this is it. I'm going to make it. And I don't make it. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. I was a little bit embarrassed like internally because I felt so confident like I was supposed to be on the show and that's why I'm here and that's why I made it through all these rounds. So when I didn't make it, I kind of got butthurt and I was like, all right, well, whatever. So I went back to my life.
Yeah.
I still watched the show, but I wasn't as excited anymore.
Yeah.
And over the next couple of years, we got reached out to a couple of times. Hey, come back. I think they keep a short list of people who are like not quite ready, but
Yeah.
And I was again butthurt, so I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. So I never did it. A couple other shows that they produced reached out, and I was like, nah, I don't want this. I'm focused on the church, and I was doing music at the time and having some big fish, small pond moments within Phoenix where we were living, and so I was doing good. Moved back to California. Fast forward, we're in 2022 now. We moved back. We moved out of vocational ministry, still very much involved in church, but we started a photo video business, and that was what was paying the bills, and we were doing really well. And I was still trying to do the music thing. And I think I was at that point teaching one class at Vanguard. So my hands were in a lot of different areas, and I was kind of starting to feel a little bit of burnout and just identity crisis. And I remember breaking down to my wife, and I'm not super duper emotional, but I'm a creative, so I'm a bit emotional. But I don't cry in front of my wife like really ever. And I was crying. I'm like, I don't know who I am anymore. Like this business thing's being blessed. We're good at this. We're getting a lot of opportunity, and we're providing it for our family this way. The music thing's kind of plateaued. I'm serving at a church, but I'm not working there, so I'm not the guy like I used to be. And I just don't know. Like God, Rael, my wife's name is Rael. Rael, what am I supposed to do? Like, who am I? What am I? And she's like, you're a singer. Like, you're a musician. You're an artist. That's who you are. Because I was like, I'll lay anything down. Like, I was it was a healthy, painful place to be in. I was like, God, I will be a janitor. I will be a teacher. I will do anything. I just don't want to feel this way anymore. And it was in that same season. I can't remember exactly how the timelines lined up, but it was in that same season. The Voice reached out to me for like the 4th time, and after not hearing from them for a couple of years. And it was just an email like, hey, I'm a producer on The Voice or casting director on The Voice, whatever. Would love to, see if you'd want to audition for the season. It's all virtual now. You just got to send in a video. I was like, screw it. Like, why not? It was due the next day. I was like, let's just do it. Sent in 3 videos, and then fast forward a year later, I'm in the finale. So it was like this crazy, and not a lot of people know that, but it was like a 5 or 6 year journey of when I felt like I was supposed to be on the show to when I ended up, doing it.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you were meant to be on that show. Like, not knowing that, the fact that, and if you're not a Christian, like, I get it, but the fact that you were putting your faith on a massive stage like that, I feel like is confirmation in itself, right? Like, God was being glorified through what you do on that stage. Like, to me, man, that's like, I think that's so powerful because there's a lot of people that, are no disrespect, well, semi-disrespect, but closet Christians. Yeah. Where it's like, yeah, dude, like God's good behind the scenes, but won't use their platform. Yeah. And I'm like, it doesn't need to always be like God. Right. But if God put you in that seat, like you better like acknowledge it. You know?
And if you truly live your life for the Lord, and again, no offense, but maybe offense.
Yeah.
No disrespect, but maybe a little bit of disrespect. If you live your life for the Lord and you truly call yourself a Christian and you identify as someone that's not lukewarm, which we're warned about in the Bible is like the worst type of person to be, how would it not bleed out in everything you do?
Yeah.
And I'm not constantly walking around, sidewalk prophesying and evangelizing to people, but most of, if not all of the reason that I'm here is because of the goodness of God. So I had a lot of favor on that show. It was actually like pretty uncanny, like how much like green light I got. Cause I've talked to people who didn't make it far because they were trying to share their faith and they felt like they couldn't. Yeah. I did not have that experience. I don't even know what they're talking about, but maybe it was true. Maybe God the plan for me in that season was to be used in that way on that show. Cause from the moment I stepped on the stage to the moment I lost at the very end at the finale episode, I had really no resistance. I was healthy the whole time. It sucked being away from the family, but it was sick. The last rehearsal with the band, and I'm really proud of this. As I was saying bye to them, because you rehearse, weekly with the band. It's very little. You get like 30 minutes of performance to rehearse with them. It's actually crazy. But my last performance with them, so this was like 12 performances deep at this point, they said, you made us work harder than anyone we've ever worked with on the show.
Dude,
and this is like
cool.
the OG band that's been there for 20 years, or however long, 10, 15 years. And it's because I'd send them chord charts. I'd send them backing tracks that I recorded in my hotel room. Like I made them work because I was arranging all my own songs. They said yes every time. The only time I got pushback was in the finale episode when I wanted to sing Gratitude, which is that everyone knows. Everyone in the church world and outside of the church world knows Gratitude now. But it was when it first came out, and I said, "Hey, I want to sing this song for the finale." And wonderful man, but the executive music director was like, "Yeah, he gave me the spiel. It's TV though. We got to be careful and not do too much church stuff." And I was like, I just kind of leveraged it. I was like, "You let the gospel guy sing. There's power in the name of Jesus on national television. You're going to let me sing a song that says hallelujah 4 times. It's not the same." And he's like, "Oh, I'll let you know." And then a couple days later, he's like, "All right, we got it cleared." So that was the only time I felt resistance, and I pushed through it, and it ended up kind of changing my life. And a lot of people were impacted because of that performance, which is insane. Insane to me.
I've never watched The Voice. Like I've watched clips. 100%. No. I'm not saying that as like a diss. Like honestly, it's actually surprising that I haven't watched that show because it's all the things that I enjoy in a show, but I just never have. And like, I remember the season you were on because what year was that then? Was that
2 years ago?
2022.
2022?
Yeah,
okay.
winter.
So it's when we had the cafe.
Yeah.
It's when we had the cafe, and I remember being around because I remember hearing the kids that worked with us talk about the show. And I just remember like that. And then I remember hearing like, dude, did you guys hear about like that worship song that got played on the finale of The Voice? And I was like, no, that's pretty sick. And they're like, yeah, dude, it was so good. Everyone was like, so good. It was so good. It was so good. And I kept telling myself like, oh, I need to listen to that. I need to listen to that. To be completely honest, I didn't listen to it until last night. And I'm almost embarrassed to say, but I listened to it. I was like, bro, what an impactful moment that like was on. Like you could feel it. And I was just like, and that's years later. I'm like, dude, how sick is that you got like God got to use you in that kind of way?
It was insane. And practically probably one of my worst performances. Like that's why it's so clear that it was the Lord. Like I sounded fine, whatever. But like I listened back to it on a musical level. I'm like, but what the experience was like in that room and beyond. I got DMs. I still get DMs. Hundreds of people some that like rededicated or dedicated their lives to Jesus because of that performance. And in my mind, that wasn't the intention. I just wanted to go out singing a song, giving glory to God. That was it. Yeah. And to see the impact. And I lost, I think possibly maybe because of that song too, the song choice. Yeah. And that's just like, what an honor, dude. Yeah. But what the coolest part about this was in the studio, like when that song ended, dude, there's probably, I could count on one hand, like the times that I've felt the presence of God that thick in a musical environment. That was probably one of my top 5. I'd say definitely one of my top 5, maybe even higher. It was just so evident, dude. Yeah. Like every single one of the coaches was moved or offended by it. Yeah. And like you could tell like the presence of God, whether you believe in that or not, whatever you want to call that, it was there. And a lot of the live audience was people from my church, which was really fun. So cool. And even the dancers, like it was very theatrical, and I had to talk to them like, hey guys, like please don't make like a mockery or like don't like be
over the top
choreographed. Like just if you're gonna sell it, at least chill out a little bit. Like I was like, I want to be reverent here. Because to me, that was the one song that wasn't a performance. Everything else was like, dude, put me in bedazzled suits. Like I'm in. This one, I wore all black, and I was like, I'm just gonna worship and it's gonna be awesome, and it freaking was, dude. Like, Gwen Stefani was choked up, couldn't even talk, and it looks different on TV. And I think they probably even kind of filtered out a little bit of what it actually was like. But like, John was moved, Blake was moved, Camila, I could tell was uncomfortable, and
which is being
respectfully, but like. Out of those 4, I know John grew up in the church, so he's familiar with the presence of God, whether he lives that way or not. Now, Gwen and Blake still believe. I don't know how active they are in church or whatever, but you could tell they were both like very, tears. And Camila, you could tell was like, my best explanation was she seemed confused. Like why? What is like what was that?
Yeah.
And yeah, this sounds so spooky spiritual, but like it truly was a moment that was like, whoa. Like I barely got through the song because I was like welling back tears of just like, there's so much power in this song in this moment. Had nothing to do with me or how I sang it or the arrangement we had. It was just like simply the obedience and the power behind that song and like what that was going to do for all of these people. And it ended up being like so grand.
Dude,
That's
honestly,
amazing.
like that's one moment. That's one reason. Like I was actually really stoked for this interview today, is that when I heard that like you did that song, and like I said, I hadn't listened to it because in all accounts, like it doesn't make sense. Like that's like I don't. This might sound rude, but like it doesn't make sense for someone trying to win a show that's clearly like non-Christian. You know, like I'm not tooting your horn, but like nobody would do that.
Yeah,
and it, like it doesn't make sense. And then like listening to that performance, I was like, bro, that's like a straight up God thing, like for sure. And like now hearing that story of the 5 years, it was like, dude, he clearly put you there for that moment, and that was it. That was the whole reason. And I was like, dude, that was so cool. Like last night, I was like listening to it while I was working. I was like, that's powerful.
Dude, Dev and I watched it live, obviously.
Hey, you little freak, you little voice freak.
I know, dude. We watched it more when you were on it.
Sure.
I'm over
just
here being
because I think-
offensive. You're over there like fangirl.
No, I think our kids were in dance by that time. So
Sick. Yeah.
Dev would get like random little updates, you know.
Yeah.
But of course I was gonna watch it, even though like I didn't like fully know you. Like I think we met at dance or something, like with Cole and all them. But I watched every episode you were on. But we watched it live, and I remember like looking over at her, and again, Mr. Spiritual, right? But like literally watching it, and I looked at her and I was like, bro, that was live performance, or just this full God moment for the world to see, or for America to see, or whoever to see it. And I mean, we're talking about how just insanely powerful that was.
It was so wild.
Dude, it was great. And then you hear like the screaming and cheers, obviously, from all your people afterwards. But we were just like, whoa. Like, because again, I've been watching that show for so long. It's very rare. You get, here and there, someone throws up a worship song or a gospel song or, whatever. Rare.
Yeah.
But how many songs did you do that were quote unquote Christian?
Just that one.
That's the
And
only
that
one.
was always the plan, because if you're familiar with the show, you're familiar.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not. Once you make it to live shows, and it's changed over the years, especially after Blake left. I don't even think they do live shows anymore. It's
really?
so sad.
Yeah, see, I don't
Something
watch
like
anymore.
that. Maybe that's not true, but once you make it to live shows, if you're in the bottom 3, you have to then, like on the results episode, there's 2 episodes a week. On the results episode, you then sing for your life, apparently, technically. And one of the 3 gets saved based off of the live vote from the audience or from America. My safety song was always Reckless Love by Corey Asbury. So my plan always was to go out. My last song was going to be a worship song no matter what. So then when I made it to the finale, I was like, the option was to keep, that would be my second song for the finale unless I wanted to switch it out. So that's when I switched it to Gratitude, and that's when I had to fight for it. But so the intention was always my last song was going to be a worship song. But to get there, I knew I needed to probably go more the secular route, which is fun because I just recreated them, and it was so much fun. But the intention was always to hit that last one with the worship song.
Which is powerful.
What made you switch Reckless Love for Gratitude at the end?
I think Reckless Love was a song that I was super comfortable with, and I knew I could sing it well. I've sang it in church for so long. But then that was right when Gratitude, I remember listening to Gratitude like maybe a week before the finale and being like, dang, I'd love to sing this one day. And then when we made it to the finale, I was like, I'm going to sing this.
Yeah.
So it was just like a last minute. This song's super intelligent, like musically, there's a lot of cool things in it.
Love that song.
And the lyrics are great, simple enough for America to get, but it's still really powerful. So it was just kind of a no-brainer. I was like, if I can get them to say yes, I want to sing this.
Dude,
All right.
was there before we ask that question, I think this is important to ask you, but during that process for you being on The Voice, and I mean, because you kind of went from, playing church route, like some shows, like you said, local stuff like that, but this was your very first like big thing, right?
Yeah.
So was there ever a moment when you were in it that the human side of you started to creep in, where you're like, dude, like I did this, or I'm here, I'm making it, like almost to the point where it's more, how a lot of times in life we'll get to places and we sometimes forget, like, hey, like, yeah, we're here. Like, obviously God's given us proper discernment and stuff like that, but I got this.
Right.
Did you ever go through any of those moments because you were having the success, you were on national television, you're surrounded by all these like famous people? Did you ever have kind of any of those at war with yourself moments?
You know, I love that question because I'm really passionate about kind of that, about that.
Yeah.
I think if I would have gotten this back in 2017, yes. But I think part of God's just wisdom and his wonderful plan for our lives is not only did he use me in that time, you know, to sing that song on that stage, but I think he also knew for me and my marriage and for my health and my family, like it wasn't ready. I wasn't ready yet. So to answer your question, no, I really didn't. And it was because now where I'm at, dude, I'm just a dude that likes to sing. Like anyone with the giftings that I have can be used by God in the way I'm being used. Like I'm not some God like, you know what I mean? Like I think people that think that they're bigger than they are and they have an inflation of their own self-worth, like it's embarrassing because God can dethrone anyone at any time and he can platform anyone at any time. And so that's kind of the posture I hold. I want to be great. And when I'm singing good, even in church on a Sunday morning, I tell my students this at Vanguard, dude, you can enjoy the fact that you're crushing it on a practical level while still giving that to God. And you could take a compliment and walk away from that being like, I crushed that. I'm a really good singer. That was awesome. But who cares? Like that doesn't matter. And that's not where your worth comes from. So no, because I'm definitely in a healthier place when it comes to how I see myself. I would say I battled more with imposter syndrome and insecurity. And that's where I had to return back to, all right, if God wants me here, I'm going to be here. But yeah, proudly in that way, I really didn't struggle with pride.
I got goosebumps.
Dude, this is so cool because we just interviewed a UFC fighter that we asked that same question because he lost. And then he had this like year of just battle. And then he came back and won.
So sick.
And it was like hearing similar answers from two like completely different people or people in two completely different spaces. But like, honestly, you two probably have more in common than like you guys, it's crazy. Just like that heart posture, like the love of God, obviously hindsight's always 20/20, that look back on it. Hearing like these two, like in the just like two completely different spectrums, having that same view pointing back to God is just the coolest. Like I think that's kind of what gave me chills right now. Is just hearing just two different men loving God that same way.
Well, it's what we talk about, right? Like every single person that is listening right now has once in their life, if not thousands of times, felt, why me? Why am I not here? Why am I not making this much money? Why am I not this? Why am I not God, why am I not? Why am I not? And we all have to get smacked down at some point and realize because your heart isn't ready.
Right.
The posture in your heart that you're holding, if you're constantly saying, I this, I that, like you said, Bodie, there's a time where you can say, yeah, dude, I did crush that.
Yeah.
That's different than having a heart posture of like me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so powerful is like, dude, I go through that all the time. We both go through this. Like I've talked about it on this podcast pretty openly of like, I've been in a season, not right now, but months ago, I was in a season of like wondering like, all right, God, I have been so faithful. I have diligently done this. I have tithed this. I have done that, you know. Why am I not this? Why am I not there? Why does John Smith over here have that? And it's those reminders where it's like, oh, like you are doing those things. You have those things. Like, no, bud, it's me allowing you to have those things.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like such a powerful just thing as a man being able to humbly admit, oh no, dude, I wasn't ready.
Right.
Like that's the power.
Yeah.
Something super, super heavy and personal that I really don't share often, but we're transparent here, right?
Yeah.
Struggling like a lot of men with porn and like in mental infidelity for years and years and years through dating other people and now, you know, then getting engaged and married and all the things. My wife told me something heavy around the same time that I think I had just gotten off the show. So this is like career starting to go in the positive direction. Oof, yeah. She said, for most of our marriage, it wasn't a matter of if, but a matter of when there would be like a failure in our marriage when it comes to like infidelity, because I know that's something you struggle with. But there's been a shift this year where I felt the Lord say like there's restoration there, and that's never going to happen. And now I can fully believe in you and champion whatever this music career brings you. And that like it made us both very emotional because it was like I felt it too. Like I wasn't planning on cheating on my wife, but I don't think anyone is, you know. But it was like a release of like, wow, like thank God, because that's always been a fear, you know, because of our backgrounds and our family lives, both her and I, like I would never want to devastate my family that way. And that's probably my biggest fear was screwing up in that way. And so for her to say, I don't have that fear anymore. I feel the Lord close that fear door in my life. And I believe in you in that way. Not that she didn't before, but there was fear before.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
And that's why I kind of hinted earlier. I was like, if I would have gone in 2017, I don't know if it would have looked the same.
Yeah.
Again, not to say I was going to go cheat on my wife, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not that long ago, but it was long enough ago or I've grown a ton, man.
Yeah.
And there's so much implementation that's happened between now and then to where like I'm so much more solid. And that's just an example of, man, if you're waiting for a dream to come to fulfillment and it's not coming in the way that you were hoping for or in the timing that you were hoping for, it doesn't necessarily mean you're screwing up or that you would screw up, but it's something to consider, like whether it's a character thing or a logistical thing or a financial thing. God's protecting you from something, or maybe it's a selfish dream and he's waiting for that to die so he can do something better or different.
Yeah, I heard this great thing one time that says God's got 3 answers: yes, no, or not yet.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's like, and you never know which one of those 3, what the main reason behind that is sometimes until you're past it. Like you were saying, like, you don't know what would have happened in 2017. So it was just for him, it was just like, hey, not yet. Like, we're going to get there.
Right.
And I put that dream in your heart for a reason. We're just not there yet. Just give me a little bit more time.
Yeah.
So, dude, I love that.
So good.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time. So let me ask you just.
We can go. We got it.
All right.
I want to hit the questions.
Okay, so we'll hit both questions then. This is one we ask everybody, but what does it mean to you to be a good dude and a good dad?
I think to be a good dude, we've been so Jesus-y, so I'm gonna ride that train because that's how I live, man. I think to be a good dude is following the teachings of Jesus, and that means loving people well. It means being bold and being aware and knowing what we believe in, and not just living it because we were told to, but because we truly understand like what it looks like to follow Jesus, and that would and should dictate how we treat people. It would and should dictate what we tolerate behind closed doors and what we don't tolerate behind closed doors. It's what we it should help us filter between what's not worth pouring your attention and affection towards versus what is worthy of it. And then being a good dad, I'd say in the same light is, but more in a practical sense, is being present and being aware and separating what your flesh thinks at once from what is truly what you're called to do. And so for me, we didn't really talk about it, but I tour a lot, and I'm doing the music thing now full time, and it's so wonderful. And with that comes this burden of guilt of I'm not home. And that's been a big kind of shift for me now of, man, when I am home, I need to, a good pastor friend of mine said his dad traveled 5 days a week for his whole life as an evangelist. But when he was home, he didn't give him a bunch of gifts or didn't feel bad. I never resented him because he always prioritized making moments with me. And so for me, traveling a ton, when I'm home, I want to be as present as I can. I want to make moments with my kids. So in short, be a good dude, be a good dad would just be, man, following what I believe is the one way and the only way, which is following the teachings of Jesus. But if that's not how you identify with, finding something that's going to make you not a crappy person and loving people well and having some sort of moral yes and no to protect and honor your marriage and honor your wife, and then just being present and being a good listener and being slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to get angry, just being aware of other people's feelings and not just being carnal and letting your body dictate, what you should and shouldn't do.
I love that. Don't ask that next question.
That was a long answer.
I was going to say, because you can be...
I'm in the bathroom.
Okay, never mind.
Don't ask me.
Well, I don't need you on the camera for this part because I'm going to just keep the part going. But you can have a ton of quantity time with your kids and not have good quality time with your kids.
Yeah.
And that can be almost more detrimental than having less quantity but higher quality.
Yeah.
And it's I heard someone once say, kids spell love Time. And it's I think that is true, but I think it's quality time.
Yeah.
Because
That's great.
5 minutes with my daughter of uninterrupted, just paying 100% attention to her, whatever she wants to do, it is so much more beneficial than me, because I've done it before where I'm home all day, but I'm not present all day.
Yeah.
And she's like, Dad. And I'm like, hold on, I'm doing this.
Right.
I'm grabbing this, I'm doing this, or I'm on my phone.
Right.
And it's I've noticed that just those intimate times of quality time with them is so much more impactful.
Well, dude, my son today, actually, he's like, we're talking about, maybe one day getting a little bit bigger of a house.
Yeah.
And he's like, can our next house have a pool? And like, I want a pool in our house. And I was just thinking, that'd be sick. Great, maybe. But I was just thinking, man, I wonder how often we'd actually use that pool versus now we have a community pool. And when we go, we're stoked. And it's like, let's go, let's pack up our stuff. Let's go to the pool. And I was like, dang, I do notice in seasons where I don't travel, when I'm just home, working from home, whatever, it's really easy for me to just kind of focus in on my work, and it bleeds into 6 o'clock, 7, we're eating dinner, and then, the kids go to bed, and I didn't really spend time, even though I was there all day.
Yeah.
But then there's moments where I'm like, all right, I have one day with my family, I'm shutting everything off. And it's like, those are the more intentional moments. So even when you're not traveling, to identify like, all right, I'm going to actually set aside quality time. Right. Even though I'm home all day and they're spoiled to have dad that works at home half the time, like, I'm going to make sure that we go to the skate park, phones are off, we're going to skate, we're going to go get, whatever, Taco Bell afterwards, whatever. and really like talk and grow. And totally.
I'm interested to see like in the next like 10 years when these kids that grew up during COVID and like your parents work from home, when they get a little bit older, what their mindset is about that. Cause they got their parents home a ton.
So spoiled.
But I feel like the quality of time might not have been there. Totally. Where people just got so used to this, I'm home all the time, numb out, versus like when I was a kid, my dad did work a ton. Yeah. Like he did. Like he had to work multiple jobs to support our family. But when he was home, my dad was there, dude. Yeah. We did the coolest stuff. We wrestled and we camped in the living room, and we, went on walks and rode motorcycle, and like we just he was there. Yeah. So I'm interested to see like when they get older, how they feel about that.
That's interesting. I've noticed a shift in my family since I toured, and I had that revelation of like, I need to like be home when I'm home. Yeah. And like, I've never been closer with my kids, and I'm home a lot less. Yeah. Not to say being home, and like I think even more so when you aren't traveling, like you could be such a good dad if you just like actually make time to like really enjoy them and like make sure that they're having fun with you. Like, it's the best, dude.
It is.
And it bleeds into your marriage too.
Yeah, and our wives too.
Dude, oh, for sure.
And then you're going to want to pop another one out.
Good dude, good dad, good husband podcast. But.
Last question. I want to keep it on this same thing that we've just been going. Like, what is one actionable step that you would give someone if they're trying to be like a better human, a better dude, a better dad? Like, what's one actionable step that you would actually give your son? Like, if he was listening to this as a little bit older.
For him to be a better dad.
For him to be a better man.
To be a better man, assuming you're married, I would say, like, your wife is your most important teammate. And even, I love the phrase, I don't know where I heard it. Maybe it was on your podcast. I don't know. I heard it somewhere. Marriage isn't hard. Life is hard. Marriage shouldn't be hard, but life will always be hard. And carrying that and being aware of like, man, frustrating things are going to happen. I'm not going to blame my kids. I'm not going to blame my wife. I'm not going to take it out on my kids. I'm not going to take it out on my wife because the world sucks. Like, we weren't designed to live in this environment, but here we are. Yeah. So remembering, man, like my wife is my partner. That's who I need to lean on the most on this earth. And my kids are a byproduct of our faithfulness to each other. So how can I protect this unit and love and honor them in the midst of the crap that we go through? So I guess a practical step would just be aware of like, don't let your temperament or your emotional state impact the relationships that you're in just because of the stuff that you're forced to deal with. Is that good enough?
Dude, is that good enough?
It's not very practical. It's more,
that's
more
practical.
That's awesome.
Philosophical, but
no, I love that.
I think that, I mean, it's a huge part in what men specifically struggle with, right? Is like trying to find that thing that they can hold on to. And sometimes it's not like some of our other guests that will give you like, hey, here's 3 things, wake up 5 minutes earlier, do those things. Like, those tangible things are great, but the practicality of being aware and understanding, I think is something that you actually have to like foster and grow.
And here's the thing, like, I'm a huge fan of, I need discipline. I'm either the most disciplined person or I'm a mess. I'm an Enneagram. I don't know if you guys do Enneagram stuff, but I'm an Enneagram 3. So I'm like, I want to plow. I want to destroy. I want to crush it. I want to achieve. So I'm either like crushing it or I'm sleeping in and just hating myself and gaining weight. Like, it's one or the other for me. And
is that what you are?
No, I'm an 8.
Oh, okay.
Aren't 8 murderers?
Maybe.
I think eights.
Sounds about right.
I think eights are like all the serial killers. I'm pretty sure.
Here's a crayon eater.
That's sick. That's sick. I forgot what I was gonna say. It was really good though. What were we talking about?
All in or all not?
Oh man, I don't remember. It was gonna be good.
Not a practical step. It was.
Oh, got it. I was gonna say, I'm all in for the, waking up at a certain time, pound the protein, get out there, move your body, like all those things. I think we've all heard that because we all have Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Like we're hearing the practical things on like how to make sure you're locked in. But man, if you aren't a good communicator with your feelings to your spouse, like you're gonna be a piece of crap. Like because you're gonna take it out. And the second thing I'm gonna say with that, if you're keeping emotions bottled in, you're not sharing them to your spouse. You don't want to overshare to really anyone besides God. But like there's certain things you should probably process out loud. Beyond in your own prayer life. But the other thing would be what you tolerate behind closed doors will bleed out into your life. Like this, we're talking sin, we're talking porn, we're talking, dishonesty, we're talking theft, like whatever the small little things you're letting happen here and there, like it will bleed out into your ministry, which is your family and your, your marriage. And it's just the quicker you can kill those things, the healthier your family will be. And last thing I'm going to say, because I'm pastoring now. The last thing, I love this phrase. My pastor said it to me years ago, and it changed my life. What you tolerate in moderation, your followers will do in excess, or what walks in fathers runs in sons. And so if you allow lust and addiction to porn, I'm just using that as an example because it's probably the most tangible one for a lot of men. If you allow that to even exist a little bit in how you live, on a spiritual level, I would imagine that it's going to exist in your kids' lives, maybe even worse. And what giants you can't slay, your kids are probably going to have to slay. And that's where, you probably heard the term, generational curses. I'm breaking generational curse. I believe it. And whether you're into the Jesus-y spiritual thing or not, like we can all agree, like alcoholism runs deep in families, and addiction runs deep in families. And I don't believe it's all genetic. I think there's a lot of spiritual attachment to these things. And man, when you are the one to say, hey, I'm going to kill this in my bloodline, like you're going to make a change, not just for your kids, but for your kids' kids. And there's so much power that we hold as fathers in a household. And when we are, excuse my language, but like pussyfooting around, not willing to make a sacrifice and kill your own flesh just because, it's been a hard day. I'm gonna drink a little more than I should, and then you end up sinning in a way, or I'm gonna tolerate this because it's whatever. God will forgive me. When you tolerate those things and they snowball, all of a sudden you're tolerating this sin, and it's gonna bleed out in your marriage. It's gonna bleed into how you parent your kids. It's gonna bleed into how you act around your peers and those people that you're supposed to be ministering to and showing the love of Christ to the most are affected by that.
Yeah,
dude,
it's powerful. It's true, man. I mean, I don't even want to say anything else. You wrapped it up.
That last chunk that you did there was like when I was telling you in the beginning. That's why I started the podcast. Like what you just said in words was what I wanted to get out in words to people.
So sick.
Like those things that you just hit on are what men need to hear.
Come on,
specifically men.
Specifically men. Like we're talking right then, dude. You were speaking to men. That's the kind of stuff that they need to man up and stop being whatever you're being, and listen to what you just said and put that into action, because if you don't deal with your crap, your kids are. And it's more men need to understand that, listen, hear it, process it, and freaking act on it instead of just shoving it under the rug and then
explode.
pretending like it's okay.
Right. That's way more manly than
100%.
protecting your family by not telling them the things you're struggling with and not ever addressing them.
That comes with maturity, though, too.
Totally.
And if you're listening and you think it's easier, it's not. Having maturity mentally, spiritually, emotionally is you have to be able to understand. Dude, I was the same way where Devin never saw me cry. I didn't show emotion. I bottled all these things up. When I was dealing with PTSD, you bottle it all up,
right?
And eventually that bottle's gonna explode. And mine exploded in a lot of different ways. And I learned as I'm getting older, and especially, dude, this last couple years doing this podcast with just listening to men's stories is man, you're not near as tough as you think you are because you're bottling it. You're actually soft. I mean, I'll just say it. I'll say it to anyone's face. You're soft if you think you're tough because you don't need help. Admitting and bringing these things to light is what strength is.
Totally.
Well,
so good.
just like you said, I've said it multiple times on the podcast, one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life was admit to my wife that struggled with pornography.
Yeah.
And I was like, I knowingly had to break her heart.
Yeah.
And like, if you think that's like a soft thing to do, to like go to your wife and like willingly break her heart, like you're out of your freaking mind.
Yeah.
Like it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And, oh dude. But yeah, we'll just, that was so well said, dude.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
man.
for sharing.
Thank
We
you
might
for
have to
that.
have you come back on and
Let's go,
explore
bro.
more
There
of
was,
these things.
yeah.
Let's do it.
In the last 10 minutes, there was so much. We could have done a full podcast just on that.
Yeah.
I want to do this. We've never done this, but in the we have a guest coming first weekend of January. I want to invite you to it if you're around. But
Sick.
his name's Joshua Broom.
Okay.
He's a former porn star turned pastor.
Wow.
And we're talking a lot about porn right this second because it's a thing men struggle with, man.
Yeah.
Like it's whether they're young and with freaking cell phones now, like your little OnlyFans and looking at girls on TikTok, like that's a form of porn, whether you want to admit it or not. You're teetering that line.
Yeah.
And porn will come out in every other way of your life.
Yep.
And I'm super excited to have Joshua come on. He's speaking at our men's breakfast.
So cool.
But he's also going to do a pod with us. And
Yeah.
dude, just the power of listening to that guy.
Yeah.
And all this stuff we're talking to, it's so relevant in men's lives.
Yep.
And that's the whole point of what we're doing and communicating. But he's coming on in the next few weeks. But I'm really excited to just hear how that conversation goes and what maybe something said in here that can radically change one person's life. And that's the goal.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I talked about it that I heard it on what made me talk to my wife about what I was struggling with is I heard it on a podcast about somebody who went and did that with their wife. And I heard it and I just felt like God was like, that's you, dude. You need to go do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not me.
It's like, it can come out willfully or it's going to come out eventually.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let's do this thing.
I give
But-
you props, dude. Most dudes can't do that.
For real.
Oh, dude, it was,
Most dudes cannot do that.
Where can people find you if they want to find you? Spotify, right?
Yeah.
Music
Bodie, Bodie, basically anywhere.
on Instagram.
Yep.
Perfect. I'll link a bunch of stuff down below.
Fire.
But dude, thank you again for coming on.
thank
We
you, brother.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, guys. Catch out down below. Listen to Bodie's music on Spotify or anywhere else that you can find music. And as always, be a good dude, be a good dad.